Then at that time, the Tathagata spoke these verses. In numerous other inconceivable sutras, I have expounded empty phenomena in detail. Hence, here in this Supreme Sutra, empty phenomena I will just briefly explain. As beings of slight intelligence, ignorant, are incapable of knowing all things, hence, here in this Supreme Sublime Sutra, empty phenomena are explained only in brief, so that all beings may certainly know, so they may be delivered from cyclic existence. Through compassionate ways, methods, and other means, I have expounded this Supreme Sublime Sutra. The body is like an empty village or house. Senses are like soldiers and thieves. Although they live in the same village, they are unaware of each other. The eye's sense runs after forms. The ear's sense indulges in sounds. The nose sense captures numerous smells. The tongue sense always hunts tastes. The body sense pursues tactile sensations, and the mental sense grasps at phenomena. These 6 individual senses are each absorbed in their objects. The mind is capricious as an illusion. Its 6 senses thoroughly engrossed, like a man who runs to an empty village and resides there among soldiers and thieves. The mind dwells in the 6 objects and fully knows the objects of the 6 senses. Therefore, the mind resides in 6 objects and fully knows the objects of sense engagement. Forms, sounds, and likewise smells, tastes, tactiles, and phenomena, the mind in motion like a bird in flight. In all 6 enters the sense faculties. In whatever sense it abides, it lends that sense its knowing nature. The body, like a machine in an empty village, is without motion and completely without action. Lacking a core essence, it arises from conditions. Arising from concepts, it lacks inherent nature. Earth, water, fire, and wind, abiding separately in different parts, like deadly snakes in the same den, are ever in conflict with each other. Of these 4 snakes of the elements, 2 move up and 2 move down. Moving by twos in directions and subdirections, these snakes of the elements will surely perish. The earth snake and the water snake perish down below. The fire snake and wind snake ascend to the space above. Due to actions done in the past, the mind and consciousness depart from their abodes. Gods and humans and 3 lower migrators are born in existence according to deeds done. At death, when phlegm, wind, and bile have been exhausted, the body is filled with urine and foul matter. Not pleasant, it becomes a heap of worms, discarded like wood at the charnel ground. Behold these things, O goddess. Here beings, persons, and likewise phenomena are empty. Due to ignorance, they arise. Due to ignorance, they arise. The King of Glorious Sutras called the Exalted Sublime Golden Light a Mahayana Sutra. I will not try to read the Sanskrit. It's, 100 letters long. No, it's probably at least 50 letters long. At any rate, someone better at that than I, because I don't want to say it incorrectly. Well, this series, or this topic, this set of topics that we're going into now, is going to cover Dharma topics. And I hope that you've been listening, reading some of the books, which, by the way, this is Darren Littlejohn. Welcome to the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast, episode 102, Stabilizing Our Dharma Practice in Recovery. So why are we stabilizing it? Well, we have to have something to stabilize, but we can also start where we're at. Anyone can start to stabilize using Dharma practice. I feel like if you just drop into the podcast, you ought to be able to get a lot out of it. So just try to listen to the things that do make sense to you. And if things don't make sense, you can feel free to ask. You can send an email, info@compassionaterecovery.us, us. Our podcast website is podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. And I'm the author of The 12-Step Buddhist. The first one was 2009. And let me see what this one is. It has the light blue cover. I did a 10-year anniversary edition, 2019. A lot's changed in 14 years. However, this book is the basis of my thoughts on recovery and spirituality and the Dharma. The entire sequence of my work, well, it is a sequence, and it's developing ideas, developing some themes, expanding, deepening, searching, getting further answers. Going into from the 12-Step Buddhist, we explore the perspectives of Dharma as they pertain to the perspectives of 12-Step. And that was 2009 that first came out. A lot of things have happened since. Many things have actually taken off and gone far beyond in terms of popularity and awareness and immersion or its commonality in the recovery space. Dharma is definitely right there. Trauma is definitely right there. It's all come about quite a ways. I don't know about very many other people's practice because I'm really deeply involved in my own, and I don't go to meetings where there are people who are in recovery who do Dharma practice, online or otherwise. Maybe I should. But I really am in more or less solo retreat mode most of the time. Could be recluse mode, monk mode. I did go out this morning to get some groceries and stop in the cafe. And there's a nice girl in the cafe. And that was really cool. And she's a yogi and really neato. So that's kind of new, although the rest of the world went back to normal. I mean, I went right out of COVID straight into the same exact situation I was in, and then I moved into a position where I had a much better situation, but it was much worse because it was super, super stressful in ways it didn't need to be, and that made it really like psychologically stressful and emotionally stressful when it really didn't need to be. Well, that's done now and in the past, but the repercussions of these things, went through this this fire and everything in the mountains. It was just enough. It was enough. So I've been reeling with that, but I just did an 11-day retreat. I just did a 3-hour session this morning. I'm working constantly through videos and prior retreats, different topics, different studies, different books, different practices, following different instructors, doing different things, just to really reiterate that the Dharma is my number one. If the Dharma is not number one for you, it's not going to be anything for you. Might sound preachy. Someone accused me of being preachy. I'm like, well, here's the thing. When you're in recovery or trying to be, or when you were in recovery and then aren't, and then you try to tell me stuff, there's nothing I haven't heard, and I don't care how clever it is. It's been a lot of years of recovery. And I know when people are lying or when they're doing their thing, where the addict evasion thing is, oh, well, I still use some things. Okay, well, I don't know if you think you can safely use shit or not, but I've been watching it for a decade or more, And I've seen that you can't, but that's not my business. I mean, it's not my business to tell someone these things. So I don't. I'm just like, well, all I can say is that I've never had the ability to dabble in addictive things. I just feel like people who want to do that and just keep doing it year after year, I've never seen it end well, ever. And I've seen it end very unwell too many times. So I don't want to sound preachy, but I'm pretty hard-nosed about recovery. If you want to fuck around, then fuck around, but fuck around somewhere else. I'm not about that. I cannot deal with drug-induced people. Cannabis is cool. It's fine. We can microdose and that sort of thing, but I'm not partying. I'm not in bars. I can't stand it. It's just not, I'm a yogi. Anyways, I might go take this girl's class because I haven't taken a class in some time. And, after COVID, I just, and there's no heated. So I'm going to do it anyways because I need to get back into the studio. Whatever it is. I think it might even be restorative or something, but okay, I'll do it to get on the mat, okay? That's my commitment. Meanwhile, these teachings, the reading of the sutra as part of our commitment to Dharma practice and recovery, to understand something that's at the sutra level, wherein, we are at the Mahayana Sutra level of Dharma, which means that, we're still in the sense of working with what are called the five aggregates, all these compositions of things that make up our experience, through our senses and in the mind global, 6 on top of all the 5. Mind itself still, in a sense, going into this space of karma and impermanence and the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and all of these Dharma topics, we're still not Tantra. We're still not Vajrayana. However, there's no way this isn't infused. It's just the instructions aren't Vajrayana transformation, deity yoga, secret mantra yoga practice. That's not what they are. But this is a very, very powerful text. This is spoken aloud by the Bodhisattva Lama Zopa Rinpoche for hours and hours, and many sessions, multiple sessions, different retreats over different times, different years, just pick up where we left off. I don't think we finished it. Lama Zopa may have finished it somewhere else later on, but I didn't. I wasn't around because he got sick then after that, and I moved from Portland. But the practice, this is the introduction to emptiness. And it does discuss the 6 objects, you see, as we've mentioned. The sense objects and how we cling. But the vibration of the sutra, and if you read it out loud, it's just incalculable merit, and if you tell people about it, it's incalculable merit. So we just read some out loud, it's incalculable merit. You just listen to it, it's incalculable merit. Just listening to the sutra is empowered. And I'm empowered with the transmission of the sutra as I have received it from my teacher. Live and in person, that connection. So I don't give commentary on these sutras. I'm not a Lama or super long-term instructor or scholar. But I do share my experience and what it's about in terms of, in relation to recovery, my recovery as it is today, and recovery as it's applied and applicable to you, to your life now. And it begins, the topic is the chapter on emptiness. And what we're saying in the Dharma is that all things aren't. There is no such thing as a thing, and there's no one perceiving the thing. There's no one to perceive the thing. And the thing it is, as my mom used to say, the thing is the 6 objects. The thing is the 5 senses in mind. And mind can have a global awareness. I mean, we can do this. You can listen to me talk and do it. You can pause and do it. You can do it on the yoga mat or on the meditation cushion. But just notice your senses one by one. Let your eyes be still so your mind can chill. Notice your ears, your eyes. Go through your senses. Go through everything you feel, taste, touch, smell. Everything, but don't look around and don't move around. Just freeze and be perfectly still, but not rigid. And ask yourself how you notice what it is that you're seeing fresh on the perceptual level, rather on the sensation level, not on the perceptual. So the sensation level is preceding the perception of what it is, the interpretation of the information. So we want to literally chill like we're slowing down the movie frames, but we're not going to get stuck and hover in between the movie frames. We're not eliminating thoughts or pushing thoughts away. We're abiding in a calm state, aware of the 6 objects or the 5 senses and the mind that, you might say, who is it that is aware of these smells, tastes, touches, feelings, kinesthetic, motion, vibratory experience is interpreted by the eardrum into the brain, visual experience in the occipital lobe. The entire process is upside down. We've mentioned this before. It's an interpretation. What we want to do is relax so much like a pond in the middle of a forest with no ripples. We really do want to get that still and be that chill and notice all of these senses, all of this information, but notice it as sensory. And we have just the feeling, just the sensation, not the description, and not the interpretation. It's before meaning, before analysis, before discursive thought, before reasoning, hypothesizing, experimenting, concluding, fabricating, constructing, remembering, forgetting for that matter. Be the empty space that perceives these sensory experiences as they arise. You're perfectly still because your mind is now chill. Notice as sensation arises. Oh, before you decide you don't like it or not. Before you decide you love it. When you got an itch, that's the worst. The beads of sweat, the drying eyes. For me, it's a sharp pain in my lower back. In the middle, right where the pressure is when I sit. No matter how I sit, that pain, it's like an ice pick. You have to somehow go through yoga, go beyond the response to experience, and with a clear mind, a sound mind, and fresh awareness, sober, spiritual, facing, experiencing, just being present with ourselves, we note that there are these 5 senses. And even there is this mind aware of these five senses. And then who is this? Aware of all this six objects. Who is this? And in this sort of Zen koan, and many, could talk about a lot about the principles behind this, but the idea generally is that if we can see these things as vibrations, as light projections, as impermanent, coming and going, just noticing the bare, raw sensation. If you've ever done hot yoga at 104 or above, and you're pounding through it, really, you do have to focus. You do have to find a way to concentrate just on your breath, just on the posture, just on your feet on the mat, or the sound of the teacher's voice. However it is that you're grounding, you tether somehow. Well, here, we're just observing, not tethering, not attaching, but we're just observing. We're doing so from a grounded state, and we're tethered to our grounded state. Our feet on the floor, our butt in the chair, our posture of, say, Warrior Two, our posture of Tadasana, our posture of just sitting and just being, and notice the five senses. This is the first step. And as we notice things come and go, try to find out where did it go. And if your back is pulsing, boom, 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 your tooth is pulsing, like I've done this practice with major dental, pain, which I did shows while that was happening. But it's hard, right? So, okay, we need to practice when we're not in that state. Like my therapist told me, when you're in the calm state, write your thoughts. And then when you're in the agitated situation, read your thoughts that you wrote in the calm state. Isn't that fantastic? Make decisions from the calm state. Well, first we've got to find the calm state. And if we can't bring our heart rate down and stop our amygdalas and all the stuff that's been going on in the shows that we've been talking about, ACEs and trauma and the addictive cycle in the brain and the stress cycle and how they're related and all these different things. Now we're putting our feet on the ground, and we're applying ourselves to Dharma practice with this knowledge, with this understanding of our condition. See, I think that to be a good, serious, seasoned Dharma practitioner in recovery, we really do have to be aware of our condition on levels that, 12-step meetings and kind of general recovery meetings don't cover. Serious Dharma practice, it's hard to find anybody in recovery in serious Dharma practice. I've found some. I've seen them lose their sobriety. I've seen some stay. It is an interesting journey to be in sobriety and a long-term Dharma practitioner, a long-term yogi. It takes time to season, it takes time to develop, to evolve, but we can find our seat, find our grounding, find our calm state, be aware of our sensations. We can just pick one, but just be still so you can notice it. And what we notice about it is that the sensation is empty. It doesn't inherently exist in a concrete manner. You can't see it. You can't where is it? You can't where to go, where to come from. Spend some time in this type of practice, just meditating on the physical sensations. Meditating on the breath. Just being so still that we then can notice a perspective. And the perspective is all these five sense objects are empty. Like pure, uninterrupted, infinite, empty space. Just projected by our mind, by our karmic history, by our intentions, our actions, our satisfactions. our delusions, our ignorance, our attachments, our aversions, our obscurations, our judgments, our arrogance. You want to talk about doing a fourth step with 7 deadly sins? I mean, come on, let's get... The Buddhists have laid it out in some deep, detailed branches. So many things that we can study and learn in so little time. The best thing to do is be present, be aware, find the compassion in your heart, understand that these things are coming and going. This too shall pass is Dharma. If you understand it in the context of this conversation, in the context of this chapter, in the context of the Mahayana Sutras, of the Bodhisattva path, we first got to get chill. And the thing is, if you can't get it down, we have to learn to somehow back up and be observant of the freight train as it's going, even if it won't stop. Because in reality, the mind, you're really never gonna stop it. You can't hit it with a mallet. You can't blow it up. We try with all of our addictions, all of our beating ourselves up. Listen, calm any hateful voices there are towards you or anyone else. Get still and calm enough to notice your senses, and then notice your heart. And notice your flow of love and your flow of compassion. And let it be pure, let it be empty. Let it be free and give it away. Give it away. Give it away now. All right, everybody. We'll continue reading this sutra for a while, this chapter at the very least, as we go. Learning how to apply Dharma in recovery. Whatever we're experiencing in our hyper-agitated state, as high aces, traumatized addicts trying to be clean and sober, we can understand is empty. It's like shimmering light on the water. It never existed. Thanks for being on the journey. See you next week. Until then, peace out and namaste.